February 14, 1945, along a frozen stretch of the Rhine River near the German border, the night is eerily still. The air bites at the skin, and the muffled growl of engines rolls across the darkened hills. Through his binoculars, Oberst Hans Keller of the Wehrmacht's 15th Army peers into the distance. His orders are clear: monitor enemy troop movements near the town of Wesel. The Americans are massing for a major push, but something doesn't add up. He lowers his binoculars and frowns. Across the fields he can see them, rows upon rows of Sherman tanks glinting faintly under the moonlight, artillery positions stretching for miles, and columns of trucks moving in disciplined formation. But there's something strange. The tanks don't leave tracks in the soft winter mud. When the wind shifts, he hears engines, but no clanking metal, no shouted orders. Keller calls his aide. "Send word to Division Command. Tell them the Americans are preparing for an assault. Possibly 2 armored divisions." The aide salutes and runs off. Keller lights a cigarette, still watching the ghostly army that seems to shimmer under the moonlight. What Keller doesn't know is that there are no divisions here. No tanks, no artillery. What he's staring at is air, an elaborate illusion created by the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, a top-secret American unit composed not of soldiers, but artists, sound engineers, and radio operators. Just a few miles behind the front line, inside a camouflage tent, Private Harold Dahl adjusts a reel-to-reel audio recorder. Through massive loudspeakers pointed toward the river, the sounds of roaring engines, clanking treads, and shouted commands fill the night. Every 15 minutes he changes the track to mimic troop movement, convoys, bulldozers, even mess hall chatter. "Make it sound like we're bringing in the 9th Armored," says Lieutenant John Walker, a radio deception specialist. Nearby, Sergeant Bill Blass, who would one day become a world-famous fashion designer, supervises a team inflating rubber tanks with portable air pumps. They're light enough for 4 men to carry, but when arranged in perfect formation and photographed from the air, they look indistinguishable from real armor. The unit's motto, painted discreetly on one tent wall, reads, "We deceive so others may fight." At dawn, German reconnaissance planes roar overhead. The pilots report precisely what Keller saw: 2 full armored divisions massing on the west bank. Within hours, the German High Command diverts several regiments to counter this phantom threat, leaving the real crossing point, 30 miles south, dangerously exposed. In the headquarters of the 23rd, Captain Ralph Ingersoll studies the intercepted German radio messages with a grin. "They took the bait," he says, tapping the map. "They're moving everything to Wesel. Let's make it louder tonight." As darkness falls again, the sound crew switches to recordings of bulldozers and pontoon bridges, suggesting a full river crossing. Fake radio transmissions, coded to resemble genuine US field chatter, go out on carefully selected frequencies. American intelligence intercepts confirm that German command believes the deception completely. For the men of the 23rd, it's not about glory or medals. They fight their war with ink, sound, and illusion. One mistake, a loose tongue, a misplaced prop, a pattern broken, and the ruse collapses. But tonight, as hundreds of rubber tanks stand silent in the moonlight and phantom engines echo across the Rhine, they know they've bought the Allies precious time. Oberst Keller, still watching from the opposite ridge, can feel it in his bones. The attack will come at dawn. He orders his men to prepare artillery and dig in. But when the sun rises and the first shells are fired, the rounds land on nothing but empty fields. The American divisions have vanished into thin air. March 1945. The forest outside Trier smells of damp pine and exhaust fumes. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops have moved again, setting up their strange circus of deception on the Western Front. Trucks rumble in, carrying crates marked confidential radio equipment, but inside are rolls of canvas, rubber and paint. Captain Fred Fox stands over a hand-drawn map spread across a folding table, the corners pinned down by spent shell casings. Around him are not grizzled combat veterans, but illustrators, sound technicians, and set designers, many recruited from New York's art schools, advertising firms, and even Hollywood. They are here to perform their greatest trick yet, convincing the German First Army that an entire US corps, over 30,000 men, is preparing to strike from a sector defended by only a few hundred of them. "Gentlemen," Fox says, tapping the map, We need to look like the 6th Armored Division by sunrise. A ripple of laughter moves through the tent. Outside, the air compressors hiss to life. Crews haul massive rubber shells across open fields, anchoring them with ropes and sandbags. Within hours, an army materializes from nothing. Sherman tanks, M3 half-tracks, jeeps and artillery guns, all inflatable, all silent. From a distance, it looks utterly convincing. Engineers place tarps and fake tread marks in the mud to sell the illusion. Overhead, reconnaissance aircraft catch glimpses of convoys forming on dirt roads, complete with dummy headlights made from lanterns wrapped in glass filters. But the most ingenious deception unfolds over the airwaves. Sergeant Stanley Nance, a radio operator from Ohio, sits in a mobile command truck, headset clamped tight, transmitting in code. His task: impersonate the chatter of an entire division. Move Baker Company to Sector Charlie. Request fuel resupply. His voice changes pitch and rhythm every few minutes, cycling through fabricated call signs. Other operators reply from different locations, creating the illusion of hundreds of active frequencies. Meanwhile, the sound crews are at work again. Massive 500-pound speakers, mounted on trucks and hidden in tree lines, blast pre-recorded noises across the valley. Tanks starting, artillery rolling, engineers shouting orders. The system, developed by engineers from Bell Labs, could project sound up to 15 miles. From the German side, it was indistinguishable from a full-scale mobilization. In the fading light, the scene looks surreal. Rubber tanks glisten with dew, flanked by soldiers in real uniforms guarding them with rifles. In the background, camouflage nets ripple gently in the evening breeze. A few of the men joke, "If Jerry fires on us, we'll just patch the tanks and pump them back up." Across the lines, German reconnaissance officers observe through field glasses. Reports pour in. American armored columns forming, pontoon bridges being assembled, artillery batteries digging in. The deception works so flawlessly that enemy divisions begin repositioning for a counterattack, one that will never come. The next morning, General Omar Bradley's real forces launch their assault 60 miles away, crossing the Moselle River virtually unopposed. German reinforcements, lured by the ghost divisions, are left guarding empty ground. In the aftermath, the men of the 23rd pack up quietly. The inflatable tanks are deflated, folded into trucks, and hauled away before anyone realizes they were ever there. The sound trucks roll out under tarps. Within hours, the landscape is empty again. A young lieutenant sketches the aftermath in his notebook: boot prints in the mud, deflated rubber armor sagging like carcasses, and the faint smell of oil and latex in the wind. He writes in the margin, "We fought a war with shadows and won." That night, as the 23rd moves on to their next assignment, the Germans issue a frantic report. Enemy divisions have vanished from sector. Possible withdrawal toward Luxembourg. No one on either side realizes it yet, but the Ghost Army has become one of the most effective weapons of deception in the entire European campaign, one that will remain classified for decades. April 1945. Western Germany. The war is nearing its end, but no one on the ground feels it. The air is thick with smoke and the low hum of distant artillery. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, America's Ghost Army, has been ordered to stage one final act. Their mission: convince the remaining German High Command that 2 full US divisions are advancing toward the Ruhr. While the real push will come from the south, Captain Fred Fox surveys the valley from a ridge near the town of Emstetten. Below him, the deception begins again. Trucks crawl along dirt roads, dropping rubber tanks into position with mathematical precision. Camouflage netting unfurls like stage curtains. Engineers spray mud onto the inflatable armor to mimic battle grime. Every move has purpose, every illusion a piece of the greater story. In the sound unit's command truck, Private Harold Dahl listens to the playback reels spinning. He adjusts the volume, layering in the distant thunder of tanks crossing a river and the mechanical screech of gears. The sound system, nicknamed Sonic Warfare, projects a wall of noise across the valley. From the German side, it sounds like hell itself awakening. Over the radio, Sergeant Nance coordinates with a second signal team. "Echo unit. Repeat last transmission. Make it sound like a column changing direction." His voice blends seamlessly with others transmitting from decoy outposts scattered miles apart. German intercept units pick up the chatter and believe the Americans are mobilizing entire battalions. Inside a nearby barn, a group of soldiers huddle around blueprints. Among them is Sergeant Bill Blass, sleeves rolled up, hands streaked with paint. He's directing a camouflage detail to construct fake supply depots, complete with barrels, tents, and ration crates. "We're not fooling the eye," he mutters to a corporal, brushing a streak of dust from a tarp. "We're fooling the mind." As evening descends, the camp comes alive. Lanterns flicker behind tent flaps. Mess hall fires glow faintly through the haze. From above, it looks like an entire division encamped and ready for dawn. But walk closer and it all falls apart. Rubber, fabric, wire, and sound. Across the line, Oberst Hans Keller, still commanding a battered regiment after surviving months of retreat, watches from a crumbling farmhouse. Reports have been coming in all day. Enemy armor sighted to the north, engineers building bridges, radio signals confirming mass troop concentrations. He studies his map, brow furrowed. It makes no sense. The Americans shouldn't have this many divisions. Yet the evidence is there. "Prepare the defenses," he orders, and request reinforcements from command. By midnight, an entire German panzer battalion is on the move, diverted to counter a phantom army. The next morning, the real 9th U.S. Army strikes from the south, smashing through weakened defenses near Dusseldorf. The deception works perfectly. The Ghost Army's illusion pulls enemy eyes and armor away from the true offensive, allowing Allied forces to advance almost unopposed. As artillery fire echoes in the distance, Fred Fox and his men quietly dismantle their creation. Rubber tanks are deflated and rolled up. Speakers are switched off. Within hours, the camp evaporates like a mirage. Only tire tracks and footprints remain. "Think they'll ever believe it?" Dahl asks, loading equipment onto a truck. Fox smirks. They already do. By the time German scouts return to the area 2 days later, all they find is emptiness, burned campfires, scattered footprints, and one deflated Sherman tank half buried in the mud. A trick of light and shadow that had changed the course of battles. For the Ghost Army, it's just another day's work. But the illusion has become something more than deception. It's a symbol of ingenuity born from desperation, proof that creativity, not just firepower, can win wars. As the convoy of sound trucks and rubber armor heads west toward the next front, the men ride in silence. In their own strange way, they've fought as fiercely as any soldier. They've bled no blood but carried equal risk, knowing that if captured, they'd be shot as spies, and yet they keep going. Because for the Ghost Army, victory doesn't roar, it whispers through static, flickers in shadows, and vanishes with the dawn. May 1945. The guns fall silent across Europe. Hitler is dead. The Reich has collapsed. And for the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, the Ghost Army, the war ends not with cheers but with an order. Pack it up. Tell no one. On a damp morning near Trier, the unit's last convoy rolls out. Trucks rumble down narrow forest roads, loaded with deflated tanks, crates of sound equipment, and miles of radio wire. Behind them, the fake camps vanish into mist, as though the Ghost Army was never there. Captain Fred Fox stands beside his jeep, watching the final column disappear. The air smells of oil and spring rain. Around him, men burn their sketches, destroy blueprints, and dismantle their makeshift studio tents. Every reel of recorded sound, every photograph, every scrap of evidence is boxed up under strict classification. The operation, one of the strangest and most effective of the entire war, will remain buried in military archives for decades. In the mess tent, Sergeant Bill Blass sips his last army coffee, sketchbook open on the table. The pages are filled with pencil drawings, deflated tanks, soldiers carrying rubber armor like carcasses, speakers under camouflage nets. He looks up as a private walks by with a roll of canvas. "Funny," Blass says, half smiling. "We spent the whole war making things that weren't real, but the results sure were." Later that afternoon, a small group of officers gather at headquarters for debriefing. Air Colonel from Army Intelligence, holding a thin folder stamped Top Secret, addresses them. "Your work saved lives," he says simply. "Thousands of them. Entire divisions avoided combat because of what you did." But officially, it never happened. No medals, no parades, no public record. The men of the Ghost Army return home as anonymous soldiers, their achievements sealed away by wartime secrecy. Some go back to art school, others to engineering, radio, or advertising. Bill Blass becomes one of America's most famous fashion designers. Harold Dahl opens a recording studio. Fred Fox retires quietly, never speaking of the unit that fooled an empire. For decades, the story sleeps in silence, buried under layers of classified documents, its heroes forgotten. It isn't until the mid-1990s that historians begin to uncover fragments, strange photographs of rubber tanks, odd radio logs, sketches marked 23rd HQ Special Troops. When the files are finally declassified, the truth astonishes the world. The Ghost Army had staged over 20 major deceptions across Europe, from Normandy to the Rhine, using nothing more than sound, light, art, and imagination. They impersonated entire divisions, faked radio networks, and even risked their lives just miles from enemy lines to protect real soldiers. In 2022, nearly 80 years later, the U.S. Congress awards the Ghost Army the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian honor the nation can bestow. Surviving members, now in their late 90s, stand at the ceremony frail but proud. One veteran, tears in his eyes, says softly to a reporter, "We fought a war without firing a shot. Our weapon was deception, and it worked." A black and white photograph from 1945 is projected behind them, a line of American soldiers walking away from a field of deflated tanks under the German sun. The caption reads simply, "The army that wasn't there," as the camera pans across the faces of the surviving men, artists, engineers, dreamers. The narration fades. In a war defined by destruction, they fought with creation. Their guns were silent, but their impact thundered across history. The Ghost Army didn't just deceive the enemy, they proved that imagination could be mightier than fear.